everyone, this is Johnny and welcome to episode 109 of the Job Like Boss podcast. I'm here with Dan Bell. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Johnny?
Yeah, really good. So, the power is out right now here on the island, or the internet's out at least.
Yeah.
So we figured, hey, why not sit down and do a podcast?
Definitely.
Can you tell everyone kind of brief background, like where you're from?
Grew up in California. I'm neighbors with Johnny, in fact. Not close neighbors, but he's from the Bay Area too. You might probably know that. But I've traveled quite a bit since 2007. I haven't actually lived in California since, I think it was 1988 is the last time I lived in California. But
That's kind of after a lot of people listening to this were born.
I'm sorry?
That's probably before. It would be
Oh, right.
before or
Sure.
after?
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, that's actually one of the reasons why I wanted you on the show is because you're not the typical, 22-year-old backpacker nomad.
Right. Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 55.
And how long have you been kind of doing this lifestyle, this travel backpacker?
Well, I was working at a law firm in Portland, Oregon up until 2007.
Mm-hmm.
And I quit my job and moved to India at that time.
And so were you working as a lawyer or something else?
I'm a software patent lawyer. I was mainly filing patents for Microsoft and other Fortune 100 companies.
Okay. Oh, nice. And so how long was that?
That was actually maybe a third career for me.
Uh-huh.
I've also been a real estate dealer. I've flipped houses for a number of years through college and law school. And before that, I was a car dealer and just a number of different things.
Nice.
So,
very cool. So you've had some experience under your belt.
Yeah, I've been self-employed most of my life. I think I worked when I was 15. I worked at Taco Bell frying tacos, or in the deep fryer.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, I've pretty much been self-employed all the way till I worked at the law firm. In 2000, I joined.
What was it like going from being self-employed to working for a corporation?
Well, lawyers have a little bit maybe more leeway than a typical employee, so I had a lot of freedom and I had a great boss, so I didn't feel too constrained by it working at a law firm. But there's still the creative aspect to running a business, starting a business, thinking up new ideas that I missed when I was working at a law firm.
Oh, nice. And what made you decide to leave that life and start working on your own, especially while traveling?
Yeah, well, I had, as I said, I had been filing patents at the law firm and doing that for about 7 years, and I just wanted to be more strategically involved in the business, so I started looking around at going in-house somewhere, and I got a call from a headhunter who had a job opening in India that there was a team of about 20 engineers in India that were doing research for Microsoft, and so I went there to teach them some of the processes that lawyers do, and so they sort of do setup work so the lawyers can make the legal decisions, and they sort of do the technical analysis, and so it saves money basically.
Okay. And how was life living in India? That's a very different place than Thailand would be, or definitely the US.
I really enjoyed it. I think it's I really enjoyed the contrast of cultures and food, and I don't know, growing up in the US, everything is fairly controlled and predictable. And when you go somewhere like India, you begin to realize that a lot of your assumptions about life are just wrong. You can do things 20 different ways. And so you just have to learn to be more adaptable when you're living outside the U.S. And India is the perfect place to start if you want to learn that.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of a big epiphany, right?
Yeah, it was. I loved it. It was a great way to not only get away from sitting at a desk all day, but great way to mix with people that have whole different philosophies of life and food and clothes and architecture, and just see the world through a whole different set of eyes.
So your friends or let's say your family back in the US, do they approve of this lifestyle that you live?
Well, I mean, my friends that know me pretty well, they know I'm a little bit odd, so this doesn't surprise them at all. I mean, like I said, being a software engineer and a lawyer was a second career for me, and I was actually doing quite well before I decided to go to be an engineer from flipping real estate, and so for me it was just sort of hey, I wonder what college was like. Let's go to college, and then hey, let's go to law school. So my friends really aren't surprised by the decisions I make. I'm usually making decisions that are just based on enjoying life, experiencing life, not sort of like, hey, let's get drunk every day, but let's go look and see the world. Let's see how things work. And I'm someone who's just really curious about how the world is.
I like that. And it's cool knowing that it doesn't have to stop because I think a lot of times, because now I'm 34,
Right.
and I keep thinking like, okay, I could probably do this for a few more years.
Yeah.
Then I should probably move back to the U.S.
Yeah.
Get a normal. Definitely now I won't get a normal job because
Right.
I know I can have a full-time business online. But
Yeah.
big part of me still thinks, okay, maybe I should get I should get a house. Maybe I
Right.
should settle down, have
Right.
some like normal friends.
Yeah.
And just be a little bit more established.
Right.
Like, do people still kind of pressure you to do that at all?
Well, actually, what you'll find is that you'll probably be able to develop a sphere of influence that is more in line with your value system. Like, I have some friends I met in India where the husband works for the State Department and his wife is a veterinarian, and they've had 2 daughters and they travel the world still. He moves about every 2 to 3 years and works for the State Department. She does volunteer work and sometimes helps at veterinarian clinics around the world, and she homeschools their kids, and so does he. And so they've developed this life around this. And someone like yourself, who's energetic and bright and is able to earn money regardless of where they sit, you'll never have to worry about money. So you'll always be able to just decide where you want to live and who your partner is and whether or not you have kids. All those things that most people do, and they think they need to be stationary for that reason. You'll be able to develop those same qualities of life, and you won't be limited in that way.
So kind of looking back at like people you went to school with, either high school or college, are most of them kind of settled down now with a traditional, house, career, 2 kids, and a dog?
Yeah, I have very few people that I personally know that other than people I've met on the road, like yourself, who are living this sort of lifestyle. I met a woman on a plane once. She was writing a book. I never read the book or followed up on the conversation, but she had been writing a book about different sort of travel lifestyles you can have, and she told, before I even told her who I was or what I was up to, she said, there's just one character that I haven't been able to find yet. And she said, someone who just goes wherever they want in the world, and they earn money, in some way that is location agnostic. And she basically described what I'd been able to do on and off, since 2007. And I just sort of chuckled, and she's like, "Why are you laughing?" I said, "You're kind of describing me." So she basically interviewed me, and I never followed up and never got her email or whatever. But the truth is, it's I think the internet has opened up some opportunities that just weren't available when most of my friends would have traditionally been making choices. And so I mainly it's people in your age group and younger that have this choice. And so and I've really only been doing it since 2007. So it's kind of a new world, and we're sort of making it up as we go along.
Yeah, I think regardless of how old we are personally,
Yeah.
I think 2007 was pretty much the first year where this all kind of took place. A big part of the reason was because of Tim Ferriss.
Yeah.
Also, around that time, things like Odesk, which is now Upwork, came
Yeah.
out, and all these other different types of remote working apps and websites.
Yeah.
So I think, even if, regardless of how old we are personally, like 2007 is pretty much the earliest most people have gotten started.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until probably in the last couple years that it really blew up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Tim Ferriss was a big influence on me also. I mean, I read his book, and it made a big impression on me. And that was I think I read it after 2007. I don't remember when it came out, but and I realized at that time I had moved to India and I was teaching Indians face to face. But I had every 7th week off. That was part of my deal. I would work for 6 weeks and I would travel wherever I wanted in the world. I'd have that 7th week off paid, and so I saw quite a few countries at that time. But I was working face to face those other 6 weeks, and then I read his book and said, "That's it. I'm going to go totally mobile." And I think it was just a year or 2 later, I quit my face to face job. Threw a web page up online and started training engineers online. So.
Oh wow! So did you do through Skype or something?
Yeah, mostly Skype calls. What I teach engineers is patent law. It's a little dry, if you will, and so it requires an engineering type mind or a lawyer type mind where they just read dense text and then you ask them questions about it. It's kind of brutal, but. It lends itself well to phone conversations, and rather
Makes
than
sense.
standing at the front of the room lecturing, because they have to read first.
Yeah. And do you just do that now?
Yeah, I still
Okay.
do it. Yeah.
What's your website?
Bellcertified.com.
Okay.
So I do that, and I also just begun to market some products on Amazon, and that's kind of a new thing for me.
Oh, really cool. What's your progress now with the Amazon stuff?
Just got started. I'm following a course. You've probably heard of it, Amazing.com, and I basically just followed their course and did exactly what they said, and I've got my first product up, and it's selling at about the pace they said it would. So it's a pretty good course.
Oh, nice.
And
So it's making sales already.
yeah, and
cool.
and they've dropped their price too. So it's a pretty cool program. But there's other ones out there. I mean, like Greg Mercer, you've probably heard of him, Jungle Scout. There's a bunch of them out there that have great problems. So I'm not saying Amazon, is the be all end
But
all.
they're definitely one of the originals.
Yeah.
At least the kind of the trendsetters for
Yeah,
it.
they definitely.
Yeah. And for anyone that doesn't know, Amazing.com used to be AmazingSellingMachine.com.
Yeah, that's right.
I wonder how much they purchased that URL for.
I don't
It
know.
must have been a lot.
Yeah, they bought it after they were rolling along. So
Yeah. But
Yeah.
they're making a lot of money.
yeah, they were making
But
bank.
at the same time, I mean, his argument is, who cares how much money they make?
Yeah,
What matters is the ROI for the students
exactly.
who go through the course and
Yeah.
actually do what they tell you to do.
Right, and they're not even charging those big dollars anymore.
Yeah, because what do they charge? How much you sign up for?
They're down. What did I pay? It was like $4,900 or something. But they're now they're charging by the month, so and it's cheap. It's like under $50 or something. And I don't know if that includes all of their courses, but I haven't researched it. But the point is, I think they've gotten more on board with some of what the other people are charging.
Yeah, because for a while they were $5,000 US.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And then so now they've switched completely to a $50 a month.
Again,
model, or-
I was on one seminar where Scott, is that his name, Scott? Forgive me. He doesn't do the training, but he's one of the founders. He announced that they're on a monthly. They've gone to a monthly model now, and I think that was for all their courses. But you can check; they're online. Amazing.com.
Okay. Yeah, and I'll take a look at that, and I'll link to anything that
Yeah.
that might make sense as well.
But I think your point is well taken, and that is that when I was making the decision to spend the money or not, I was deciding that I wanted to go completely location agnostic, not only with respect to location, but also my time. And so I was looking around for businesses that I could do that, and where I could have products up for sale online, and not necessarily be involved in phone calls all the time, which is what teaching is. So and so far what they teach us works, so it would be a great return on my investment if it works as I move forward.
So I'm looking at their site now, and I clicked under courses, and
Yeah.
it looks like what it is instead of having like one course,
Yeah,
now they have, it looks like
A package.
15 or 20 like sub courses.
right.
So one's called marketing on Amazon. One is Amazon passive. It looks like there are sub courses of the main course.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if what they're doing is they're getting you in for like
Try to step you up.
Yeah.
Yeah, they could be doing that.
so it could be. I mean, but at the same time, if the ROI is there, I mean,
Yeah.
if you're obviously what they teach works because enough people I've met now
Yeah,
have been successful with it.
yeah.
And even though you're just starting to make sales, it's working because you are making sales.
Oh
right?
yeah, I can just follow the same formula again. I'll be fine.
Yeah.
And when you first get in, you just think, oh, maybe it's you're getting conned or whatever. It's a lot of money, this kind of thing. But I'm far enough in now where I know that it's rinse and wash, and it's just pick new products, throw them up there. But maybe it costs a little more than people realize. I mean, there is a front fee. But also you got to buy the products, you got to put them online, you got to pay for marketing. But once you get that whole machine structured and running, it's not like big money. Let's put it this way, it's cheaper than like buying a franchise or
Yep.
and your location independence. So who knows how long it'll last and all that because of competition, but so far so good,
That's a really nice way you put it. That it's kind of like buying a franchise.
Yeah.
Where you're kind of buying a proven business model.
Yeah.
And you're getting the education along with it. You're getting kind of the step-by-step process.
Exactly.
And let's say you bought a Subway.
Right. Great choice. Great example.
Yeah. I don't know what they charge now, but it's something like probably $500,000 or something, right?
Yeah. I don't know. It's a little under that, maybe 100.
Okay.
100 to
So let's
200.
say
Depends
it's
on
100
location and size.
So let's say it's $100,000.
Okay.
Right? They don't guarantee that you're going to have a successful business.
Right.
They don't guarantee 100% of people who sign up as a franchise
Right,
are going
right.
to be even profitable.
And how scalable is it? You have to open a new store. Maybe you'll be successful with the first store and open a second and a third and a fourth, and maybe it's scalable. But how fast can you scale it? and and are you location dependent? All these sort of factors made it wasn't as attractive to me.
Yeah, I can definitely say that. I would never ever open a physical location for anything.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Like even the franchise owners, they're still driving around between them.
Exactly.
I mean, it's still a huge headache.
They
for
have
them.
freedom, so it's, if you have to be stuck somewhere, it's better. It's better to be free than they have time off, they are control of their own schedule and all that kind of thing. But it's not the ultimate kind of freedom where you're jumping on a jet somewhere.
Yeah. And they're still investing $100,000 probably per location.
Yeah, exactly.
To start up, yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, it takes a while to recoup that money.
Exactly.
But you know what I like about it, and what I like about both, following a course like Amazing Selling Machine or opening a franchise, is your chances of being successful are much higher than if you just were going to open your own sandwich shop.
True.
Because you're following a formula,
Yeah.
you have coaches and mentors, and you kind of, you have the step-by-step system.
You have a community.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, in that sense, I think, if you are going to open a restaurant, which I don't recommend,
Yeah.
opening a franchise is probably a better idea than trying to do it on your own.
Yes. Yeah. Totally. I mean, the only way I would open a restaurant on my own if that were my passion, and I had cooked for someone else for 5 years and learned how to order and where to buy and what leases should be on all those. I would go in and be a cook or a manager at a restaurant before I would try to open one on the fly. I mean, so.
And even then, I would still do some kind of MVP. I talked about this in my talk on the last Nomad Summit.
Right.
It's going to be available for free soon, probably in a few weeks. So nomadsummit.com. But one of the examples I gave was, if you want to open a restaurant, what you can do is you can follow what this guy did on Facebook, where he set up a Facebook page, no website or anything, and, he just said, "We are delivering salads." All right.
Okay.
Please place your order just by just message us before 11:30 every day,
Right.
And for your salads to be delivered at 12:30. It's cash and delivery,
Right.
so there's no I'm not going to be afraid to get scammed, right? Unless maybe my salad won't show up.
Yeah.
But I haven't paid for anything.
Yeah. Exactly.
But what he did was he did that for about a month, and he grew word of mouth. People started seeing like
Great salads.
great salads,
Yeah.
Free delivery. Like, okay.
Yeah.
And he got a ton of people to start ordering.
Yeah.
And then he set up a website, and then he actually set up a storefront.
Perfect.
And in that order. Most people do the exact opposite.
Exactly.
They set up the actual storefront and they spend $50,000 or $100,000 setting it up.
That's my exact model. Every time I've ever started a business, you have to create a market first and have dollars coming in before you invest money. It's stupid if you spend a lot of money and time and energy with some crazy idea you have, you don't know if that's going to work or not. Why blow your money and time on that? Mm-hmm. Shoestring it. Always start out with as little money as possible, get some revenue coming in, get customer feedback, and so figure out a way to do everything the quickest and easiest way, and then in the lowest dollar way, and move on. So
100%. And things with even with the membership course, so my course Earnest Affiliate came out exactly 1 year ago,
right?
And I MVP'd it as well. I figured, okay, what do I actually need in this course,
right,
to start selling it? And first I was like, okay, I can sell it for a lower price than I ultimately want it to be. So I started at $197,
right,
and knowing that eventually I'm going to raise the price. And then I started it with only the first, I think, 3 or 4 modules of videos,
right,
knowing that it would take people a few weeks to
catch up
to that.
Yeah, right.
Because I figured, why record 8 weeks worth of videos if I
Exactly.
never get a single sign up?
Yeah, and then put your energy into the marketing, getting your your presence online, and then once they start coming in the front door, then you have to start building the back end.
Yeah, exactly. So I launched it, got my first 50 students or so,
Right.
and then I just slowly started adding modules as they caught up.
Right.
So
right.
at first I was going to do one new video every week.
Right.
But then I realized, I was like, you know what? A lot of people are still stuck in the earlier stages.
Yeah.
So let me spend my energy helping them and
Right.
figuring out what they need. And that way, when I actually make the next video,
Right.
it'll actually be very tailored for them.
Yeah.
And it took, a lot of students, pretty much this whole year to really get to the point of the last module, which was the automation part of it.
Right.
So I kind of just held off. And to be honest, part of it was me, having other priorities and being a little bit lazy and thinking okay, most of the students aren't, at the automation part yet. So let me
Right,
not
right.
even film it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was because, I was like, okay, when I do it, I want it to be perfectly tailored for like the 50 students who are inside already.
Yeah, and they're a great representation of the ones that are going to follow them.
Yeah,
right. So if you figure out what they need at that moment, and you give them that, then there's a good chance that whoever comes behind them, because you don't even know what you know.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even, there's so much you know from all the different things you've done, and you don't know what your typical student, what part of that they know and what they don't know. And so you have to figure out as they move along, you have to figure out what they don't know.
Yeah, exactly. So it took me exactly 1 year to film and finish all the modules, but I'm happy to say 1 year later, it's 100% complete.
Right on.
So I'm going to start marketing it pretty hard. Pretty happy with that.
Cool.
Yeah.
This reminds me of this, I forget the guy that does the product launch formula. Have you heard of him?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
what about him?
That's his philosophy on training. You do this concept of, he's all online. You can go watch his videos or whatever. But basically, you market your idea. You try to get the first few people in, and you have an outline for what it is you want to train. And then as they come in, you train it. So you've just described his launch formula basically. And then once you've gone through it once, then you do a relaunch, I think he calls it, which sounds like what you're ready to do next. So sounds like you're
that's cool.
right on the money.
I wish I would have read his book or something, but
yeah, it's on Amazon. It's only like $20 or something.
Okay.
Yeah,
maybe I'll check it out. But yeah, it sounds like in my mind this kind of just made common sense.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
And if anything, if I had recorded all the videos before,
right,
I probably would have had to record all of them again.
Yes.
Because
yes,
when student, I wouldn't have had the questions that people came up with.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, I think the product launch formula, I mean, not necessarily what he's teaching, because I haven't read the book, but like the way, the relaunch formula, I think makes a lot of sense, because when I first launched, I didn't really have any reviews or anything. I didn't have any like case studies besides me.
Right.
But now that it's been going for a year, I have a lot of students who are now making money from the course, who are great examples.
Right.
So when I relaunch, instead of the course being just about me and my success,
right,
which I think people like to follow,
sure,
but even more than that, they like to follow knowing that it's replicatable for other people.
Absolutely, you have social proof now.
Yeah.
I definitely, obviously, you want to get them on a podcast and have them talk about their trials and tribulations. Include that in your next launch. So.
I'm excited for that. Yeah. So keep an eye out for that. I am dealing with all the kind of the technical stuff in the back end though.
Yeah.
So today I basically just had to switch away from ClickBank, who is my payment processor.
Right. Right.
A big part of it was I was getting a bunch of fraudulent orders from India.
Right.
And every time I would get it, I would email ClickBank saying, "Hey, can you take a look at these? I'm pretty sure these aren't real orders."
Right, right.
And they would just say, "Oh yeah, don't worry about it."
Are they like refund scams or something?
I don't actually know how it works.
Because there's a huge demand in India, and so especially about online products. So it may be real. Is all I'm saying. It could be real. I'm not saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, 100% of them either refund or charge back.
Oh well, that you just answered the question. Yeah, it's not real. Obviously, yeah.
Yeah, and here's the craziest thing is most of them never even actually registered for the account. They bought it and then never actually even clicked like create an account, so they didn't even have access to anything.
Oh.
I think it was actually an affiliate scam where people were trying to use like fraudulent credit cards, hoping to get the commission.
Oh.
But
interesting.
They didn't because,
you caught onto it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Either way, I'm switching off of them because I want to be able to manually approve my affiliates.
Okay.
Which I think is kind of the trend for pretty much every course that I've been through. So like for example, Amazing.com, they have an affiliate program, but you have to manually approve, and they don't just let everyone sign up. Right. Same thing with Anton's course. Same thing with pretty much every successful course out there that's been around for a while that does well. They all kind of do everything either on their own private affiliate network, or they, they're maybe they're on a public one, but they manually approve everyone.
Right.
So, if anything, this is kind of a pain in the butt to move everything.
Yeah.
So it's gonna take me a few days research, but I think it's gonna be good in the long run.
Right.
Because then I can. Well, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm only gonna approve affiliates who are either already part of my course that understand, the back end of it and the value of it.
Right.
And I'll approve people who, I'll look at their websites and make sure that they're actually delivering good value. They're not just like some review site or some, couponing site or something like that.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I like it. So yeah, a lot of things coming. And for you, like, what are your income goals, or what are you actually like? Yeah, what are you actually working on?
Right now, I have a new a company that I'm working for or training their people, and that's kind of fun working with a new set of engineers. And so I'm teaching them now how to respond to office actions at the patent office. Basically, as I said, I hope companies get patents on software, but. And so I'm doing that, and as I said, I'm also building. I'll be building out. I hope to have 5 products online for Amazon by the end of the year. That's those 2 things I'm working on right now.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So, do you plan on retiring ever?
I don't understand the concept of retirement because, even if you decided, even once you have enough money, right? What are you going to do? Just sit in a park or something? I mean, you're going to want to read or play an instrument or study or travel. And even travel, when you end up somewhere, you still have to decide where you're going to go and what you're going to do. And it can't all just be, I don't know, the concept of retirement, I guess I don't really understand what people who, to me, life is all about experience and learning new things and meeting interesting people, and all of that. It happens more naturally, in a community of some kind, whether it's online or in person. And so a natural way to do that is to be involved. Whether it's you're building a business, or you're helping with a charity of some kind, or you're helping family members with things, whatever it is. I think being engaged with people really is what life's about. So, retirement, I would, if it includes that, I'm already retired and I'll be retired forever. And
nice.
So
I remember, I almost feel like retirement was this carrot that they would dangle.
Yeah.
Just to kind of get you through a lot, going through a job you didn't really like.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, don't worry about it. Just keep doing this for another 40 years.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll have 72 virgins once you turn 65.
Stick your nose back on the grindstone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I almost remember this kind of throughout my life.
Right.
I've always wished for the next thing. So I remember in elementary school, I kept thinking, man, once I get into middle school,
right,
life's going to be great.
Yeah, once I'm with the bigger kids
Yeah.
or the cooler kids.
And then once I was in 6th grade,
Right.
Which is like the first year in middle school,
Right.
I was like, okay, once I'm an 8th grader,
Right.
then
right.
I'll be cool. Because then I'll be like the
the big
top
kids
of
on
my class,
campus.
right? And then I was like, okay, well, once I got there, I was thinking, okay, once I get to high school.
Once I drive a
then it's
car.
cool.
Yeah.
Once I drive a car.
Yeah.
And then once I had a car, I thought, okay, once I get a cool car, once I
Yeah.
get like a nice car.
Yeah.
And then once I got that, they're like, okay, once I could fix this up, I can buy some rims for it.
Yeah.
Then I'll be happy. Then I'll be cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it just never happens.
No, it doesn't happen.
Like even going to college, I thought, okay, this is it. I'm going to college.
Right.
And pretty much the very first day of college, they're like, oh, so are you going to go to grad school?
Yeah.
I'm like, I wasn't even planning on going to college.
Yes. Yeah.
Why does society do this?
I think it's in the human nature to think that where we are right now is not okay, and that there's somewhere else we need to be. And I think you've discovered it at an early age, and that's probably why you're free. And so the idea that everything is not okay right now where we sit at this moment, if you're buying into that, it's let it go. It's you really, and it's as you've gathered, it's just a big lie. You really can't. You can really only be happy in this moment. You can't be happy in the future because it's not here yet, and you can't be happy in the past. It's not. It's too late. You can only be happy now, and so. It's really about, to me, this is sort of a Buddhist practice. You have to find your way in this moment, and you have to find meaning in this moment, and that's really the key. And it doesn't matter whether you're, if you will, stuck at a desk or whether you're sitting under a palm tree like we are.
Literally, we are.
There's no excuse. You have to find happiness where you are now, because you can't even progress spiritually, economically, in any way until you find a way to accept what is at this moment. You can't move forward. You'll just be stuck in the misery of this isn't it, this isn't it, this isn't it.
So here's the confusing part.
Yeah.
Is 100% of that is true,
Uh-huh.
yet at the same time, if I was stuck in, let's say, an office job,
Yeah.
in my old cubicle job,
Right.
I could be happy there, and I should be happy while I'm there.
Yeah.
But knowing that there's this alternative life
Yeah.
of being under a palm tree here
Right.
in Thailand,
Yeah.
where everything's cheaper, the weather is better,
Yeah.
there's more freedom. Should I just be happy in my cubicle?
I think the difference is that you were not ruled by fear. So while you were in that cubicle, you had fear about leaving your job. You were worried, how am I going to pay my way? What if my parents get sick? You had all these fears. What if my family gets sick? Or what if this or what if that? There were all these reasons why you shouldn't have left that cubicle. And if you allow your life to be about fear, you're going to sit in that cubicle. But if you instead of what fear is, it's an anxiety. And if you're able to be in the present moment at your desk and get it and understand that you get to decide what your life's about, and you should go towards things instead of away from them, or imagine the future in a way that you want it to be, and think about it, who you want to be, and focus on that instead of fear, then you'll be able to leave that desk. And it doesn't mean at this moment you hear these words like, it's magical or something. It just means you begin to understand that your mind can either focus on fear, or it can focus on joy and opportunity and what's good in your life, gratitude. And if you can begin to focus as you sit at your desk on those things and look at what are the next steps that I need to take so that one day I'm not at this desk, and not come from a place of fear, but from a place of the future and freedom and joy, and then you can begin to design a next brick, if you will, to stick in front of your foot to step on. So.
I like it.
Yeah.
A nice philosophy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's ironic that you're sitting just to the right of a Buddha statue. It's about 8 foot tall.
So why were you able to leave the desk? How were you able to leave the desk? What made you let go of that fear?
I got let go.
Oh, you got fired?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so I worked for a company called Honeywell.
Yeah, sure.
Big U.S. corporation.
Right.
And I got pulled into the office at 4:59 p.m. on a Friday.
Oh boy.
And my boss said, hey Johnny, I don't know if you know this, but our company is getting bought out, and we need to let people go.
Right.
And you have two choices. You can either take this severance, which was a couple $1,000s to kind of get me through the next couple of months.
Yeah.
Or we can fire you, basically.
You can quit or we'll fire you,
Yeah.
kind of. And so you had unemployment or a check? Is that kind of the
Yeah.
option they were giving you?
And I was like, okay. So I was kind of very lost for, I think it was almost 2 years after that.
Okay.
Because I was just living in LA.
Yeah.
Kind of thinking like, I don't know who I am. This is what I got into really like this.
What year
self-help
was this?
stuff.
What year was
this? 2006, I think.
Okay. Okay.
So, and here's the crazy thing is the economy was doing extremely well at that time.
Yeah, in 6 it was.
Everyone I knew was getting brand new BMWs.
Right.
Every time we would go to a restaurant, people would fight for the bill. We would
Yeah,
go to
yeah.
the club. It'd be rounds on so-and-so every single time.
Sure.
And at that time, everyone was very optimistic about, jobs. It was very easy to get jobs. So I could have gotten another job very, very quickly.
Right.
But I was kind of just exploring. I was doing a lot of self-help stuff.
Right.
That's when I started going to bars to pick up women and practice my lines. And, a lot of it was just kind of, I didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
I thought that's what was going to make me happy.
Right. Right.
And luckily, I read the 4-Hour Work Week as one of the self-help books.
Right, right.
I mean, it's funny that 4-Hour Work Week is in that section.
Yeah.
It's more of a business book, but, it kind of is a self-help book if you think about it.
Yeah.
Read Rich Dad Poor Dad as well during that time.
Sure.
And I came to Thailand just on kind of a vacation. And I wrote all, the whole story behind it in 12 Weeks in Thailand. And I'm sure I actually described it better there because it's been so long.
Yeah.
But basically, I was very fortunate where I didn't have to make that decision. I didn't have the job anymore, really. And I had started working for a kind of a self-help / dating company
Right.
for Asian men.
Okay.
So I had a job. Now, it was actually paying pretty well. I think it was paying like, I don't know, maybe $4 or $5 grand a month.
Right.
Which, I think especially back then, I was like, oh, it's pretty good money. Pretty
Yeah,
happy with
it's
that.
decent money.
I was living in a cool house. I was driving a cool car.
Right.
So I had a lot, going on for me. But as soon as I came to Thailand on vacation, I realized none of that matters.
Yeah.
You know, and I would say the hardest part was because the economy was doing so well and all my friends were doing so well.
Right.
It made it really hard for me to give all that up
Yeah.
to come here.
Yeah.
And the funny thing was, pretty much just a year later, the economy crashed.
Right.
And the next time I went back to visit, you know, everyone's brand new BMWs were either repossessed or they were
Yeah.
sold.
Right.
And everyone stopped fighting for the bill. If
Right,
anything,
right.
people started splitting it
Yeah.
down to like the penny.
Sure.
And it was a really big difference.
Yeah, of course.
So I was a little bit lucky, I would say.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, I think it's we get these opportunities and we have two doors we can open,
Right.
and it really is our choice.
Yeah. Yeah, completely. I think you hit on something there that very important, is this idea that it makes no difference. I know a lot of us that are location independent talk about focus a lot about money, but money doesn't really make much of a difference in your life. You find out quickly. I had the opportunity, or the luck, if you will, of going broke for the first time when I was 21. I was involved in a real estate partnership, and we were buying property, and the economy crashed, and we lost all these properties back to the bank. And I went from driving a 911 Targa and having several homes and spending money like it would never end to just being broke overnight. And I 6 months later, I was in a 7-Eleven playing a video game with a friend of mine after the bars closed, and it just suddenly occurred to me that I was happier at that moment than I'd ever been in my life. And it was so I realized early that money made very little difference in your life about whether or not you're really happy. Happiness is a whole different issue. I think, so I would never trade. Money's fine. I'm okay with money. I don't think people that have money are bad, or I don't think it helps or hurts you. And obviously you need enough where you're going to eat and have a place to sleep and all that kind of thing. But I think once you've hit a certain amount, once you have a certain base sort of income where you're free, after that, the money doesn't really matter. And it's more about quality of life. It's more about making choices about, here we are, we're down in Thailand, and our friends are back in, the States are busting their butts, and they're, some of them are making more money than us, some of us are not. But we're down here and we're relaxing, enjoying ourselves. I mean, we're working down here too, but if you look at what our burn rate is on the money we make, it's much, much lower. And so we're free. And that's the bottom line. We're free because we've chosen this beautiful place to come to, and we figured out a way to live here where we're able to make more than we need and save money and do everything we want to do. And I think it's all about quality of life and choice. And I think that's the biggest difference that I notice of when I used to grind out money in the, at a desk somewhere, and versus this.
I definitely agree. I like that you put in there that we need our basic needs met. We need food and shelter met.
Yeah.
Because that definitely is important. Where if we're stressed about paying rent,
yeah.
And I'm not saying paying rent on a place that's $20,000 a month,
right,
that you don't need, but paying rent on, like a basic place, right?
Yeah,
like,
sure.
a place that's safe and clean and
right.
well lit, right?
Yeah.
And food, same thing. Like,
good quality food.
Like, yeah, like you'd be able to eat, not like you'd be able to go to the supermarket and say, okay, I'm going to buy the eggs that are from chickens who, or pasture raised or something, right?
Right.
Or just in general, just being able to buy like real food and not saying, okay, I have exactly $1.07.
Yeah.
Let me go to McDonald's.
Yeah, right.
So I do 100% agree that we need to have our basic needs met.
Yeah.
Because if it isn't for that, if we're worried about paying rent, eating, or even like health,
right.
Being able to take care of ourselves if we get sick.
Yes.
Then it's really devastating.
Yes, exactly.
And life is not good.
Right.
But I do agree that once we get past that point,
yeah,
our quality of life or my happiness hasn't improved that much.
Yeah.
Like I from when I was making $600 a month to when I doubled that, so like 1,200 or something, my quality of life went up a lot. I started living. I went from like a very basic room
right.
to living in like an actual condo with a living room and you know.
And this
like
is in Chiang Mai
air
you're talking
conditioning.
about?
Chiang Mai,
Okay, yeah.
And I went from only being able to eat the cheapest, you know, street Thai food.
Yeah, pad Thai for 40 baht or whatever, yeah.
To being able to eat that when I want, but also having the option of eating like a steak or something, you know.
Right, yeah.
Like sometimes, you know, you miss having Western food, so you want
Right,
to go
sure.
out for pizza or something.
Yeah.
And I would say having those options and having like a slightly nicer place,
Right.
that dramatically improved my overall happiness.
Yeah.
You know, but then when I doubled that from like, let's say $1,200 a month to 2,400,
Yeah.
pretty much zero, you know, I would say like 1%
Yeah,
difference,
exactly,
right?
exactly.
And every time, and even when I like 10x that,
Yeah.
my life isn't, I'm not any happier.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
I would say, you know, sometimes I'm more comfortable,
Yeah.
you know, and I'm very fortunate that part of it is because of my, you know, growing up poor,
Right. Right.
but also the minimalistic kind of mindset I have, as
Yeah,
in,
yeah.
you know, minimal travel.
Right.
So I don't buy stuff.
Yeah.
You know, we're sitting here in t-shirts and shorts and, you know, we're not
Exactly.
wasting money on stuff.
Right.
But I think the one thing that has given me the most joy ever since I did start making money is being able to give money, like,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
and not to just random, you know, people that don't deserve it or like that'll, you know, maybe make their lives worse. Right?
Right.
So if you give, you know, let's say you gave $1,000 to a heroin addict,
Right.
you're not making his life any better, right?
No, it's gone in 3 days. or whatever.
Yeah. If anything, you're making his life much worse
Yeah.
than you were.
Right.
But if you're giving it to, you know, let's say a charity that's actually fighting the you know, root cause of addiction,
Yeah, of course.
then it makes you feel really, you know, good that you're actually doing something in the world.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's well said. I couldn't add anything to that.
So I would say, yeah. I mean, I would encourage every single person right now to have their goals be first making enough money to be able to pay, you know, your basic living expenses: food, water, shelter,
Get freedom.
health.
Get freedom.
Yeah. And then the next step would be to have a little bit extra so you can have more of that freedom. So you
Yeah.
can travel, you know, when you want to.
Yeah, yeah.
Or even just have the same amount of money, but have it become location dependent.
Yes. Right.
Because I would say for 99% of the people listening to this, whatever amount you're making right now is more than enough to be able to travel and do whatever you want while living in places like this.
Exactly.
You just need to figure out how to do that location dependently.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at, like where we're staying right now, I don't know what the exact amount but it includes where we're staying, which is decent. The co-hub here where we're working, air conditioned. There's a beach right here. 2 meals a day. I don't. It's less than $1,000 a month or something like
Yeah, I
that.
think it was
right?
like their package was like almost exactly $1,000 a month.
Yeah. So, if you think that you need to make 100,000 a year to be location independent, you know, it's you're probably overestimating what you need.
Yeah, I actually just wrote a blog post about a guy named Sam Marks,
Uh-huh.
who's he lives in my building,
Okay.
and he spoke at the Nomad Summit this year, and I didn't realize this until like way after I first met him. I think when I first met him, I just thought he was a cool guy,
Yeah.
you know. And at the Nomad Summit, it was the first time he revealed that he sold his company for $100 million,
Wow.
and that was really cool.
Yeah.
And so now like being, you know, Facebook friends with him,
Yeah.
I see his updates, and he does, you know, I think he just has a lot of free time, right? He
Yeah,
obviously has
exactly.
a lot of free money.
Right.
Not free money. He has lots of expendable income.
Sure.
So he just randomly creates adventures for himself. So just last week, he decided to walk around Koh Samui. So Koh Samui is one of the islands on the
Love that island.
east coast of Thailand, near Koh Tao, Koh
yeah.
Phangan.
Yeah.
And I asked him, you know, why he decided to do it, what sparked it, and he said, "Oh, just looking at a map one day, and it looked like you can walk around the island. You know, it looks like the beaches kind of connect, or there's trails kind of to walk around."
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's like, "Do you want to come?" And I was like, "No." Like I was like, that doesn't sound very interesting to me at all. Right? And in my mind, I think one of the reasons why I said no is because I was thinking, you know, I want to be able to work. I want to
Okay.
like.
Yeah. Other things I need to do.
Yeah,
type
I,
thing.
I guess I thought about my responsibilities.
Yeah. Right.
But then once he started, you know, once he posted, I saw the photos. I just saw the, you know, his write up on it.
Yeah.
I was like, man, this is like an epic journey. You
Yeah.
know? He just basically walking around an entire island for over 10 days. And what he would do is he would walk in the daytime.
Okay.
Usually like 10 kilometers or so. So not even like 5 miles or so. So not he wouldn't walk 12 hours a day. He would walk,
Right.
a few hours a day. He would stop randomly to have lunch, and he would just have basic Thai food somewhere.
Yeah.
He would continue walking, and then before it got dark, he would check into just a random hotel.
Yeah, they're all over the place.
Yeah, they're everywhere. You
Yeah.
don't have to make reservations or anything in this island. And he actually never spent more than $20-$30 on a
You
room.
probably could. Well, you could if you wanted to, but that's the typical price around there. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're pretty cheap. And he
Yeah.
said his only requirement he wanted air conditioning because it's pretty hot right now.
Right.
So he would just get a basic place for like $20-$30.
Yeah.
But because he also likes nice things, he would just walk across the street or down to the beach to one of the high-end resorts.
Yeah.
And he would have dinner or cocktails there. So he said he probably spent $20 on the room, but he would spend $100 on cocktails. But that's smart, right? Because
Yeah.
why spend $100 on the room
Yeah.
and $100 on cocktails?
Yeah.
Or not be able to to do the things you like, right?
Well, I mean, it's all relation, and you bring up a really good point. One of my best friends, who is a doctor in Arizona. When I was flipping real estate, he was my bank. Whenever I had a deal I needed more cash than I had laying around, he would fund them, and then so we were in business together. I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years, but. He's done well his whole life. He's saved a lot. And I don't know exactly what he's worth, but he's probably, the last time I asked him, I think it was like $8 million or something. And he's about 5 years older than me, maybe 10. And my point is that people should understand, if you think that fear is going to go away when you make enough money, it's not. He has not been able to quit his job and do this. He wants to do what I do. And he just has not been able to get himself to do it. And he's worried about running out of money. Now, he's also from a poor family. So he has that fear from childhood. And he worked his way up out of poverty and did really well in the U.S., but he just can't get himself to quit. So the fear doesn't go away, because once you think you make $1 million or $2 million, the fear will go away, and then you're going to travel. This is the golden handcuffs that society is going to try to put on you, and it's going to stop you from making good choices, or assuming they're your choices that you want to make, it'll stop you from doing that. So
I can see that. And especially in the U.S., but pretty much everywhere now, the more money you make, the more you spend.
Exactly.
And pretty often,
Yeah, exactly.
you start spending more as soon as you get the news that you're going to make more money.
Yeah, exactly.
So if let's say you get a raise today,
Yeah.
you're going to go out and buy that car that's pretty much the same day, or you're going to start looking at better apartments, or better house that same day.
Yeah.
Even though, if you think about it, you're not actually getting paid more until for at least a month. If
Right.
not,
Yeah.
if you're getting, or if not like a year, right? So you're
Right,
basically, pre-planning what you're going to be making. Like, you're like, oh, I'm getting, extra $10,000 a year.
Yeah.
Let me go out and buy this, $10,000 thing right now.
Right.
But we're buying that a year early.
Exactly.
And by the time, that year comes up, you're going to be used to that car. And you're going to say, well, it's time to get the next model. And
Then you're in asking for a raise again.
Yeah. And, and it's so smart that car companies, and they make it, they do it this way, where right in college, they encourage you to buy, let's say, the BMW 1 Series or something, whatever the entry level would be.
Right.
And then the next, in 4 or 5 years later, once it's time, your lease runs out or it's time to sell,
Yeah.
they're like, well, you should get a 3 Series now.
Right.
And you're
Right.
like, well, yeah, okay, yeah. I'm older.
I deserve it.
I
work
deserve
hard.
it. I worked hard. I'm making
Right.
more money. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll do it. So you get 3 Series.
Yeah.
And then, after 3-5 years, they're like, well, why don't you get the 3 Series like Sport this time with the M3?
Right.
And you're like, oh yeah, okay, yeah. I deserve that. And then it's the 5 Series. Then it's the X5.
Yeah.
Then it's the 7 Series, and it never stops.
This is exactly why earlier I said that that I had the fortune of going broke when I was 21 years old. It's because I realized the quality of life didn't change based on what I was driving. I went from driving a 911 at 21 years old to drive. I think it was I don't know, maybe 4 years old. And I went to driving like a 25-year-old Buick 4-door or something that got like whatever 12 miles per gallon, because it's all the money I had. I think I bought it in the newspaper for a couple $100, and I literally was laughing to myself that my life was better. And it's after that I came to this realization that The key to life is to give yourself some choices. If you back yourself into a corner and you're spending everything you make and you're at the edge of your earning potential, and worse, maybe you got stuff on credit cards, you're not giving yourself any choice of creativity or any choices about opportunities when they come to you. You're right at the edge. The thing to do is to step back, lower your head a little bit, drop your pride a little bit, save some money, and put yourself in a position where when it's time to leave that desk job, you have not only a little bit of education about what you want to do in the real world, but you have some ideas about where to go, and you got some money in the bank to do it. And you're not going to do that if you're living on the edge, like you said, but every 2-3 years you're stepping up to that next BMW. And the thing that you'll find that will really surprise you is that you'll get more joy out of knowing that. I remember when I had there was a book called Richest Man from Babylon. Maybe you've heard of it. It tells you the first thing you need to do is pay yourself when you're earning money. And when I first started to learn to pay myself, I started to get this joy out of the money that was building up sitting there, because I started imagining what I could do business-wise with that money. And as it built and built and built, and as I studied and read about different opportunities, as I grinded away at that job, I watched that money grow, and I learned more about what those opportunities might be. And then when the time came, I was able to jump at those things because I wasn't living on the edge. I wasn't trying to figure out how to make $5,000 by next Tuesday because I had waited. I had money sitting there. I could taken 6 months off if I wanted to, or a year. And you have to get yourself to that place. And what you'll find out is that there's more joy. Really, what you're doing by stepping up and buying that more expensive BMW, you're trying to fill a hole that you have inside yourself, because you're at this desk and you're really not doing what you want to do. You're really not living to your full potential. You're living someone else's dream, your boss, your company, whoever. It's not your dream. And so you have this hole inside you that you're trying to fill with that nicer BMW, because you're not doing you're not being yourself. But once you start to save money, and once you start to learn about some new vehicle that you can follow to make money, then you'll start to have this new kind of pride that builds up in you, and it's sort of a self pride, and you understand that your future is going to be different. And then as you start to take those steps, and you'll begin to have more of the joy that you really think you deserve, and you won't be filling these holes with cars, or what's the club to be at tonight, or oh, what's the most expensive resort on this island. No, it's like, how much is a scooter? It's $2. Oh, cool, let's ride a scooter. How much is this hotel over here? Like your friend, he's got the money in the bank, he can afford whatever he wants. But the joy to him now is figuring out how to live life in a way out of his choice. What is it he wants to do instead of living someone else's dream? And that's, to me, that's when my main point is that don't think that nicer BMW is ever going to give you the joy if you're not living your dream. You need to focus on a plan, an idea, a methodology, and you need to pay yourself first and save if you're not ready to jump yet, and read some of these books like Rich Man, Poor Man, Richest Man from Babylon, all these sorts of books. Start to study what they're doing, people that are where you want to be. Study what they're talking about, listen to, and start to get your pride out of this new information you have, or this new way or future or way you want to live. And don't buy into the bullshit society of, oh, I got to have the biggest house on the street, I got to have 3 BMWs, I got to have a boat and a dock out back. That stuff will come. If you want that, it will come eventually, but it's not going to come as quickly, and it won't be as joyful if you're somebody else's bitch. You really need to figure out your own way in life. And I think if you make right choices while you're young, then you'll live a life that's your dreams. If you're loading up on the debt, and you're loading up on everyone else's dreams with, I got to be at this restaurant or drive this car or whatever, there's no permanent joy in any of that. Joy is in personal choice.
And so many good nuggets there. I mean, I would encourage everyone to just rewind this for 3 minutes and just listen to that again, and really just take notes and let it all sink in, because these are the things that I wish that I would have known in my early 20s, and maybe even yourself, especially before.
Oh, absolutely.
Before you bought that Porsche. I mean, there are other things. I actually bought a Porsche as well
right
in my 20s. I bought a used Boxster, so it actually wasn't that expensive. I got a great deal on it.
Yeah.
And I was so excited when I got it, because I thought, man, I've made it now. I have this thing I've always wanted, and nobody was happy for me. Like, not a single person was happy for me.
Of course not. Now they have to buy a Porsche.
Yeah. Well, and you know, what they would do is they would all say like, "Oh, like, why didn't you get the 911?"
Oh yeah, of course.
But I promise you, and I'll be willing to bet, even though you had a 911, people asked you why you didn't get the turbo.
I don't remember it so long ago.
Or people might be like, "Oh, well, why didn't you get a Ferrari?"
Yeah, that I heard. I remember hearing that.
And the thing is, why can't you just be happy that I got what I got? You know?
Exactly. I mean, I was blown away.
And I think it is because maybe people's own, it's this reflection on themselves that they don't have one, so they almost kind of feel like they need to chop you down and not let
Yeah,
you
of
enjoy
course.
it.
Yeah, of course.
But it's also sad because the way that we, I guess, not take that personally
Yeah.
is by not, you know, it's not that we understand like what they're going through and, you know, accepting it and saying like, oh, you know, like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, of course.
it's more that we start saying, oh, well, they're just jealous because they
right.
don't have one.
Yeah,
or,
of course. Yeah.
And, you know, we start rubbing it into their noses, and
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
not helpful either.
Right, right.
So it becomes, you know, it becomes a scenario where nobody's happy.
Yeah.
You know, while in reality, it should be like, oh, cool, my friend now has a Porsche.
Yeah.
I can go ride around this Porsche. Maybe he'll let me drive it. Maybe, you know, we'll go cruise.
Right,
You know,
right,
we'll have
yeah.
some fun.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's just not the way that normal society works, which
Yeah.
is crazy. You know?
And I think it's worth saying for your audience, I don't own a car right now. I left the USA in 2007. I visit family and friends and stuff, but I don't. I just travel now, and cars are one of the lowest things on my list of priorities. Even if I could check them in baggage, I would check a very small economy car.
I haven't owned a car since 2008.
Right on.
And if you do the math, on average, people spend, I think it's something like, I think it's between $5,000 plus a year on insurance,
Sure.
payments,
Easily.
depreciation,
Yeah, absolutely.
maintenance.
Yep.
And I think that's just for like an economy car.
Right.
You know?
Oh, and if they go get a nice car, then they have to park it in opposite end of the parking lot, and worried about somebody keying it, and of course you and I, what are we going to do with the car? So
Well, I think we were so lucky that in 2016 there are all of these alternatives to having a car, like
yeah,
Uber,
absolutely.
Lyft.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
crazy apps, and you know, like
Yeah.
you don't need a car anymore.
You don't. Even when I go to the States, I try to go somewhere in the States that you can ride the subway or whatever. Who wants to get in a car? Let's say you're in New York, right? Do you want to have a car when you're in New York? There's nowhere to park it. You spend half the time figuring where to park, or Pelio Valet, now you got to walk, and or you can ride the subway. It's $1. You go wherever you want. San Francisco, same thing. Chicago. You know, if you go to flyover country, you need a car. Let's face it. You know, if you're in Oklahoma or somewhere. But I would say get a beater then.
Yeah, or just rent a car.
Or rent a car.
Like what I'll do is I'll rent a car for 2 weeks or a month.
Yeah.
Even.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because I remember 10 years ago when you would rent a car, there'd always be like an old piece of crap.
Yeah.
But nowadays when you rent cars, they're almost always brand new.
Oh yeah.
They almost always come with USB port or like an auxiliary jack or something.
Yeah.
And they're fine.
Yeah, they're great.
And I think it's also because American car company the rental car companies stopped buying these fleet American cars that were always pieces of crap.
Exactly.
Now they give you like Hyundai Elantras or like
exactly.
a Toyota Yaris.
Yeah.
And these are great cars.
Yeah.
Like honestly, it's funny because my dream car right now, if you ask me what car I would buy today if I had to,
Right.
I would buy a 2017 or 2016 Hyundai Elantra.
Oh yeah, they're great cars.
That is like my dream car. It's so well made. It's so efficient. Great gas mileage.
I was
comfortable.
I was on the southeast U.S. In 2014 looking for some real estate investments, and I rented one of those things, and for like a month, and it was practically free because of the time of the year. Renting a car was cheaper than a car payment practically. I mean, it wasn't quite that cheap, but it was amazing. And since I'm only in the States maybe a month, maybe 2 months of the year, it'd be crazy for me to have a car when I could, just pay 2 car payments while I'm there. So
I thought of it exactly the same. I mean, because when you rent a car, when you factor everything in, let's say insurance and everything, it might be up to $600 a month, right?
yeah, oh easy,
But that includes, all your maintenance, your car wash, even,
right? Yeah.
Your, that's it. Like that's out the door, $600.
And if it breaks, you go to them, hand them the keys, and they give you keys.
And they give
to
you a brand
another
new car.
one.
Yeah. Well, if anything, you don't have to go there. They'll probably bring a car
Yeah,
to
of
you.
course, right.
And I know what everyone's saying. They're like, oh, but my car payment's only $200 a month or something, right?
Right.
But when you factor in what you paid for the down payment, what you're paying for insurance, what you're paying for maintenance,
Right.
and for depreciation,
Yeah.
I guarantee you, even your economy car is closer to $600 a month.
Oh yeah.
So I think of it as, and you know what, for most people, they probably wouldn't buy an economy car. Most people would want to buy like a BMW or
Right,
something, something like the $40,000-$50,000 range,
Yeah.
and then your car payment might be $600 anyways.
The last car I owned was the way I used to buy cars is I would go to find a car that was 3 to 5 years old that had like 50,000 miles on it. It would be a Nissan, Toyota, one of those, and I would drive it for a year or two, and I would sell for about what I paid for it. So for me, cars are almost free other than gas and a little bit of maintenance. It's because I'm not interested in driving a car that's going to that's expensive or flashy or any of that stuff. To me, cars are a waste of money. If you're going to spend a couple $100s a month on a car, go buy a rental property and have a negative cash flow, because at least that's going to pay you back, as you get older.
So even though I know logically cars are not worth it at all,
Yeah.
I still dream about cars. I still watch car review videos.
Right.
And I would still like to have a Ferrari one day. But now I also know it is, because it is completely a liability. It's not necessary. It's one of those things where I'll never let it be. I'll never over leverage myself to buy it.
Absolutely.
While before, I guarantee you I would have.
Yeah.
I would have said the day I can afford to make the payment on it, I'm going to go out to the dealership. And I actually did, right? In 2007, right before I came out,
Mhm.
I was at a Chevy dealership trying to buy a new Corvette,
Right.
thinking that once I got that car, I'd be happy.
Yeah.
I was like, this is what's missing in my life.
Yeah.
This is what's going to get me the ladies.
Yeah.
This is what's going to get me the respect from the guys.
Yeah.
This is what's going to make me,
You're
happy. I can
you're
go
filling
race
that
on the
hole
weekends.
you had
Yeah.
inside you, and you needed to do it, right? It's part of development. You need to find out that who your real friends are. You need to find out that it doesn't matter what car you're driving. Life's not really about the stuff you think that the advertising world would like to tell you life's about. It's really not about that stuff, and none of it really adds any joy to your life. But you have to find that out personally, because when you're young, you look and you see someone drive down the street in a Corvette, and you're like, wow, man, if I could own one of those Corvettes, my life would make sense. Or look at that girl over there, whatever it is that society's telling you, you can get that girl if you have that car. You'll find out over time that it's probably not the girl you want if she's picking the guy because of the car he's driving, and she's probably not that interesting. If she's picking a guy like that because of the car, she's probably a little bit slow or just overly materialistic or whatever, and you'll find much more interesting people around the world if you focus on.
So there's actually a story about I don't know if this is a real person or this is just a like a made up story, but it's about a guy who he would go to the bar every weekend with his friends, and he would never go talk to girls. He would always kind of just have his beers and say like you know what, just you watch, I'm gonna make a lot of money. I'm gonna get that. I'm gonna get a Porsche. That was his dream car.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna get every girl in this club. And he would, week after week say that. And then one week, he walked in the club, big grin on his face,
right,
with his Porsche key in his pocket.
Yeah.
And he walks up to the most beautiful girl, gets her phone number, and says, "I'm gonna take you on I'm gonna take her on a date."
Yeah.
Goes back to his friends and like, "Look, it worked." And his friends say to him, like, "What worked?" And he's like, "Look, the car worked, And his friends are like, "But she doesn't even know you have a Porsche."
You could have asked her before.
It's part of the design. And he's like, "Yeah, but now, when I pick her up, I'll have the car,
Right.
and that way, And his friends are trying to explain to him, they're like, "Look, she already agreed to go on a date with you without knowing you had one. By you showing up in a Porsche, doesn't affect that decision at all."
Exactly.
The only thing it affected was his own personal confidence.
Exactly. Exactly.
But you can have that without that Porsche.
Right.
But what I do want to say though is, if you also, if you're a slob and you have a piece of crap car that's filled with trash and it's dirty,
sure,
that's going to affect your life too.
Yeah.
But as long as you have, and it's kind of what we said before, where if you can have your basic needs met,
yeah.
So if you can have a car that's not going to break down on you, that's not going to cause you, headache in the mornings when you can't start it, right?
Right.
If you have something that you take care of, that you just wash, and it's clean, you don't have any trash inside, it's vacuumed,
yeah,
and it's reliable, that will make you pretty much 100% happy.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
anything, you know, any extra horsepower after that, any extra flash after that
Yeah.
is just a bonus.
Yeah.
And it's really not even that big of a bonus.
Yeah. Exactly.
I like where this conversation is taking us.
Yeah, it's good. I'm enjoying it too.
So one thing I did want to ask is, so do you think retirement is possible?
I have a path through life. It kind of, it's not tightly weaved, but it's there's no rule in retirement involved. I mean, if retirement means to me that I would get up in the morning and I don't know, what would I do? I mean, paint or something. I mean, I'd like to paint at some point. I'd like to do a little more writing, but retire. I don't. I guess maybe I need to read what retirement's about. But for me, there's too much I enjoy doing. I like learning new things. I like figuring out new businesses. I like exploring the world. I like meeting new people. I like spending time with family and friends, and very little of that involves just sitting dormant in a chair somewhere and waiting for time to pass.
So one thing that I feel a bit bad thinking this,
Okay.
but every time I meet someone traveling, not necessarily like as a digital nomad or co-working space, because I normally actually don't meet people who are over 35 or 40. I'm probably one of the older digital nomads.
Yeah.
Even though I'm very immature. I don't look like it. But in general, like if I meet someone traveling, so let's say I'm on a dive boat 'cause we're
Right,
scuba
right.
diving for the day,
Okay.
or we're doing some kind of like tourist activity.
Yeah.
I'll meet people in their 50s or 60s,
Yeah.
and I'll just assume they're retired.
Yeah.
Like in my mind, I always just assume that they're retired and they're traveling the world and they're having a great time.
Yeah.
And then, once we talk a bit more, they say, "Oh yeah, I got 7 days left, and I got to go back to, wherever they're from."
Right.
And I ask them like, "Oh, why do you have to go back?" And they're like, "Oh, because I have to go back to the job."
Right.
And I say to them like, "How like do you mind if I ask how old you are?" And in my mind, I feel so bad all of a sudden.
Right.
That
they have to go back.
they have to go back.
Yeah.
And I feel kind of like an asshole. I feel like this. I'm like this young. Compared to them.
Yeah.
I'm like this young prick that's living the life that
Yeah.
they should be living.
Right.
While they are like, sometimes I know, people now can live to 100, right?
Right.
But when someone's in their 60s,
Yeah.
they're pretty frail.
Yeah.
They don't have that many more good years left.
Yeah.
And I feel so bad seeing someone, in their 60s,
Yeah.
still having to go back to a job, and pretty much none of them like it. None of the people I've met are excited to go back to work.
Yeah. Exactly.
They're happy, on vacation and doing what they're doing.
Yeah. The typical American is working, 50 weeks of the year, 47, 48. They take a couple weeks off. They might go to Europe. Probably not. I think I read somewhere once the typical American, maybe only 15 or 20% even have passports or something. So I just think you're seeing the cream to the cream, and they're still having to go back to a job. And so that's, I think, the important thing about the people need to understand. You really have to take control of your finances. You have to spend less than you make. That message doesn't come out in our schools. And so they don't have the choice to retire. They've got to go back to work. And I think the important thing is to figure out something you like, pursue it with some passion, and get yourself in a position where you can pursue it. And you can't do that when your hands are tied when you're making, when you're spending everything you make. And I think Americans have started to catch on to that concept. I mean, but not enough. And even the ones that make a lot of money, save a lot of money, aren't deciding to do anything with their life until it's too late. I mean, one of my plans is that I'm going to travel the world, and probably until I'm 65, and then I'll probably switch to the U.S., buy one of those big fat long motorhomes, and then I'll just tour around the U.S. so I'm near a hospital. But for now, I don't mind being in Thailand or whatever. I prefer the medicine and the dental here than in the U.S. I think the services are just as good, but or better actually. The service is better, but the prices are cheaper, and I feel like someone's actually talking to me or whatever. But once I'm 75, maybe I'm going to want to be touring the U.S. finally. I mean, I've seen most of the states, but I'd really like to take a good look at the U.S. But I'm going to save that till later. Right now, while I'm young and healthy, I'm going to enjoy places like this.
That's an incredible plan.
Yeah.
I like it. I think this is the real way to do retirement, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I'll probably have a Harley on the back of that thing.
Yeah. Very cool.
Instead of a scooter in Thailand, I'll have a Harley strapped to the back of my big fat motorhome. So.
Okay. I like it.
Yeah. So.
But the key to that all starting is what, creating passive income while you travel, or
well, I think passive income's is great if you can do it. But I think the main thing is to spend less than you make, start to save some money, and you'll find that you can fill that hole with the choices you'll be able to make, whether it's investing in stocks and bonds. I mean, you probably know people in the U.S., they just started saving 10-20% of everything they earn and put it in stocks and bonds or real estate or whatever. You don't have to do that for long. 10 or 20 years of that, and it starts to add up. Mm-hmm. And then you might just flat out retire and be a day trader. There's all sorts. The point is, once you begin to have choices in your life because you're not spending everything you own, and you're not trying to be the big kid on the block and prove that that you have a big one or whatever because of your car, but you actually are creating some choices for yourself by the strategic decisions you make. You're being the big guy on the block because of your mind, if you will, instead of your
and
spending.
it applies to women as well.
Of course.
I know girls
Absolutely.
who spend $200 a month to keep their hair blonde.
Exactly. Yeah.
And they spend, I don't know how much makeup costs, but I know it's expensive.
Yeah, exactly.
And these things really are unnecessary.
Yeah.
Like, it almost makes me like crazy seeing that. Like,
yeah.
It's such a waste of money for nothing, because I truly believe that if a woman spent this, her energy, or a man,
right.
spent their energy eating healthy, doing exercise,
yeah.
They don't need to dye their hair. They don't need to spend money on cosmetics or other things.
Right.
And yeah, sure. If you want to put on some mascara on a Saturday night to go out, that's one thing. But
yeah.
people that spend, however X amount of money per, pretty much having to wear makeup every single day of the week.
Yeah.
Or guys who have to spend a ton of money, wearing, expensive fashion, fashionable brands.
Right.
You're just covering something else up. Like,
yeah, exactly. It's the same hole that you're filling. If you read online, it doesn't matter what the subject matter is. There are great books that'll tell you about how not to spend money. It's all over the place. Even if you are going to spend, at least go to the right place and spend it. Don't just jump on the bandwagon and go where everyone else is going, the neighborhood mall, and spend hundreds of dollars. If you got to spend the money, spend a few pennies, whatever you have to do. But the point is, you have to figure out how to greatly reduce your outgo, continue to maximize your income, reduce your outgo, and eventually you'll have some choices, and you can start learning as you go and figure out which choice you want to make. But whether it's passive income, which is the best of all, let's face it, right? I mean, the idea of having passive income, that's the gold standard. Or you end up, like there's people here at CoHub with us that are doing translating or creating content for educational content or all sorts of different things, jobs. But here they are. They're in general, they're almost as free as passive income.
Yeah, that's a great point you make. Where passive income would be top tier. And passive
tier.
income, to kind of define it, is something that you can set up and kind of forget about and still get paid every month. So,
yeah.
Like my book sales would be truly passive, because I'm not rewriting the books again. Maybe I might update it again, who knows, but yeah. I'm not, like, on a month basis, I'm not doing anything.
Right.
It's just royalties. It's all passively generated.
Yeah.
Then we have semi-passive income, which are things that we've set up that we don't really need to spend very much time on anymore. Maybe we kind of keep an eye on or maintain it.
Yeah.
So things like that could be, like, let's say the Amazon products that you're selling.
Yeah, right.
Or my dropshipping stuff, where everything's already set up.
Yeah.
But we kind of have to just still, spend a few hours on it here and there, keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
And then I would say the third best, but also very good, is location independent income.
Right.
Where that could be freelancing or whatever remote working, whatever it is that you can do from a place like here,
from wherever you sit.
And then the last, or the bottom of the barrel, would be location dependent, trading time for money.
Yeah.
So a desk job, or
yeah.
an hourly job or even a salary job.
Right. So maybe the way to think of it is when we were in grammar school, we were location dependent, and we were looking at the middle schoolers. So you just start to study somebody either at the top of passive income and go straight there, or maybe the next step. The point is, you don't have to stay where you are. You may need some resources in a year from now or 2 years from now, whether it's to so you can sit and write a book like Johnny has, or so you can buy something, whether it's a franchise or whatever. You may need some resources at some point, maybe. And so don't spend all your money. Save it and start to learn and try to move up that income ladder.
I like it. So to kind of wrap all this up, I think the biggest point we're going to take away from this episode is if you start thinking instead of about instant gratification and what may fill your needs and the holes in your life right now, and you start thinking in the future, whether that be a year from now or 3 years from now, 10, 20 years from now, you're going to be happier pretty much starting now, but also you're going to set yourself up for happiness down the road.
I remember when I first started the 10% rule from That Richest Man from Babylon. I remember when the first like $500 I got, and I took 50 and set it aside. And then I remember when it got to like 600, 1,200, and it became to be a real pride for me. And that's a long time ago, but you'll have instant pride as soon as you start to be responsible for your outgo and start some savings. There'll be instant pride.
Here's a little trick for everyone: is start, looking, like download your bank app on your phone. And every single time you see someone bragging about a new car they drive, or popping bottles, or buying new clothes, or whatever it is, instead of feeling bad for yourself, pull that savings account balance up or your checking account balance up, and just smile knowing that you have that, you have that same amount of money that they spent on whatever it was,
right?
But you have it in the ultimate form, which is cash.
Yeah,
and cash is king.
Exactly.
All right. Well, Dan, thank you so much for being on the show.
It was a pleasure, Johnny.
I appreciate it. If people want to reach out to you, do you hang out anywhere online?
Not really. I haven't really developed too much of an online presence. I mean, if you just search Dan Bell Patent, okay, I should come to the top. I have a travel blog, and but I haven't developed a lead generation system yet. I'm working on that now. So.
All right. Well, very cool. I will post all these links on episode 109 of the Travel Like Boss podcast show notes. I'll also add Dan to the Travel Like Boss Facebook group. And if you guys have any questions, find us on there. If you guys haven't read Richest Man from Babylon, if you're not saving 10% of your income yet, read the book, follow those rules, and that's it. Hopefully, maybe I'll see some of you guys out here.
Take care, Johnny.
Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the Travel Like a Boss podcast. If you want to hear more, including the bonus How to Choose the Perfect Niche episode, join our mailing list at travellikeabosspodcast.com. See you next week, and remember, if you want to travel like a boss, you need to be your own boss. So start your online business today and start living the lifestyle you've always dreamed of.